Coach, what is kind of the feel when you talk to other coaches if Deion gets brought up? Like, do people believe he's in it for the right reasons? Do people believe he's a good like, what's just kind of the talk with Deion ever comes up in coaching circles?
Phil Bennett, longtime college football coach, of course, a great friend of the show. A lot of stories today we can get to with him. The Pitt AD, the win by Texas in Ann Arbor, SMU goes up in smoke on Friday against BYU, and so much. We were talking about how you said that normally when you're on with us, you're in your outdoor kitchen, which I'm so jealous of that.
Well, I'm actually by my pool right now. I thought it'd be a little bit better view.
It is nice. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful view. Thank you for being a part of it.
I've got a backyard that people would die for. The whole, you can see the drop off. I've got almost 2 acres back there.
Wow. Yeah, I'd spend a lot of my time out there too. It's great to have you. Great to see you too, buddy. We appreciate your time. So let's go over a couple of things. Let's start with, you mentioned Texas and Michigan. We'll get to that game. They did exactly what we kind of expected. Well, not everybody, but they were just so much better than the Wolverines.
I think people forget how much Michigan lost last year. I think they were the team that had the most draft choices. They lost a culture leader that they really believed in. They lost a first-round pick at quarterback. My question is, that's a long drop-off from a first-round pick to a former walk-on. Now, I thought the kid, maybe the kid's going to be a great player. But Texas played them very much at the right time. And I think Texas went in and did what they had to do. I do feel that Michigan might have a rough season. Now, I don't think the Big Ten, looking at Wisconsin, looking at other teams, but it could be a rough year for them.
Coach, what were your thoughts on how badly Tennessee destroyed NC State? That was our other ranked matchup. Nico Maliava looks great. Sampson, the running back, looked really, really good. And NC State, a team that I thought, with Dave Doran, he coaches with some intensity and some moxie. They never got to the game. They were just never in it from the jump.
Dave is one of the better coaches around right now. I think he is doing more with less. With what they've done. He's really a good coach. Tony Gibson, his defensive coordinator, has had great stats. I was a little bit concerned because Tennessee always did, that they tried to simulate what Art did. Heupel, when he had Levy, went to that, really liked it. And when Tony was at West Virginia, Art would light him up. So I thought there's a lot of calls, a lot of things in his defense that if you're not tempoing, probably are really good. But I think he struggles with tempo. Last year in the bowl game against Kansas State, their young quarterback tempoed Tony and got him on edge. And I thought that's what this young kid at Tennessee did. I thought Tennessee looked really good. Their special team looked good. Everything about them looked good.
Coach, what is your feel for Oklahoma? They're very close to hitting the panic button based on just these first 2 weeks. Jackson Arnold, he's learning. He hasn't played a lot of football. Just what do you make? I mean, John Summerall and Tulane is going to give a lot of people hell, but what are your thoughts on the Sooners?
2 thoughts. First of all, they've got a very, very inexperienced offensive line. And as we saw in the Colorado and Nebraska game, the offensive line can make a big difference. I think that Jackson, I think they're very capable. I'm not sure they're as skilled as what they've been at receiver and running back. They really weren't able to run the ball. And that was a little bit surprising, especially against Houston, who struggled against UNLV. And I thought UNLV would have been a good tape for Oklahoma with their spread offense. But I do have confidence that Seth will get them going. And sometimes early on, it doesn't hurt that you have to play really good defense, to win a game. I don't want, whether you win or lose all the time, I think after one or two games, we make too many season deciding decisions on teams. You just got to see how they progress, how they take coaching, and how they rearrange things to get better.
Coach, you mentioned Nebraska, Colorado. Obviously we know Matt Rule. You know Matt Rule and what he's done. This is year 2, and they got beat up in Colorado last year. They had no chance, and he's done this. Is kind of his MO in year 2. I got PTSD as a Nebraska fan for the last 10 years, but I was stunned at how easily they dominated that game on the line of scrimmage.
I thought Tony White defensively did an outstanding job. I think that when you can do that zero run game and you can pin, once you make them predictable, they were able to get those quick touchdowns. And I think what Matt does, I hate to use the word, but I think he's getting them into a groove of what he expects. I saw something he said before the game. We've prepared, we've talked about it. Now we've got to go do it. We've got to be doers and not talkers. That's the thing that caught me in that game. They didn't have a lot of showboating. I mean, there wasn't a lot of talking, but there was a lot of playing.
Colorado obviously has a problem being physical up front on both sides, Phil. That is something that 2 games in, obviously, like you said, we don't want to cast them out, but that is something now that's lasted for the last season and now into this one. How do you fix it in season? Do they have to consider radically changing what they do, especially on offense, just so that Shadur Sanders can finish a game and finish this season?
I truly believe that I want to say, that they can change it, but from what I've seen in the first 2 games, it's going to be a struggle. I think they have some inexperience coaching the offensive line. Doesn't mean they're not good coaches. They have a pro coach that really doesn't have a college background that are calling the plays. I'm seeing a lot of what I saw when I left Arizona State. I'm seeing a personality as being the head coach, and I'm not seeing the things that show up on Saturday to help you win. There's a lot of verbiage. There's a lot of expectations, but I'm not sure we're going to see them have the year that they would like to have, and some people anticipated.
Coach, what is kind of the feel when you talk to other coaches if Deion gets brought up? Do people believe he's in it for the right reasons? Do people believe he's a good what's just kind of the talk with Deion ever comes up in coaching circles?
What I try to do is number one, I think Deion's an awesome person. He's been an unbelievable ambassador for football. I think he has good thoughts. I think he means well. I think he's out of his realm right now. I think his staff is out of their realm. He hired a pro coach on offense. He hired a pro coach on defense. I don't see people that are have been in the environment that they're in right now. And I think experience is important. I think there's good intentions. I think there's probably too much talking and not enough doing. Mm-hmm. That's just me. And I'm saying that with thinking that he's going to try to get it right. I just don't know if he can.
That was one of the games in Nebraska. The second half it got sloppy, but that's a big win for them. What were your thoughts about We had Coach Hammock, Thomas Hammock, on the show from Northern Illinois. He's an alum from there, has a pretty nice resume, coached in the NFL with the Ravens. How about the Huskies and what they did to the Irish?
I think a lot of people, I think everybody was shocked, but when they left College Station, it was obvious that they were not I didn't see them as being a playoff type team. I didn't think that offensively, their offensive line is young. And it was, I don't like the term trap game, but It was a game Northern Illinois had nothing to lose. And I will tell you, I remember when Charlie Weiss was there. I was at Pitt. We went in and beat them in 4 or 5 overtimes in a game that they were supposed to win. I just think that Northern Illinois, and I'll tell you something, they had to overcome the officials too. There was some questionable calls on that last drive on spotting the ball.
Oh, yeah.
What a heck of a win. And I think that, as Coach said, they believed, and it was obvious they got down to it. Now, I think Coach Freeman's a good coach. I think he's got a good quarterback. They're a team that has gone on the road, won on the road, and I think they're the type of team that can recover from this. I don't know if they'll be in the playoff picture, but they have a good schedule.
All right, Phil, I'm going to hire you to my team this week, and we're playing Boise State, and the only thing I need you to do is draw up a defense that's going to stop Ashton Genty. What do you got for me?
Let me tell you something. I played him the last game I coached. I didn't do a very good job. But we did stop him the last 3 possessions and have a chance to win it. But for some reason, they quit running him. He's really a good player. The thing that I remember when watching him from when we were scouting is he makes his cuts at full speed. I mean, there's no squatting. There's no stopping. I mean, he makes those cuts. And I will tell you something. There were plays Saturday night that he made on his own. Nobody was blocked, and they couldn't tackle him.
Phil Bennett, former and been everywhere. By the way, we have a couple of Kansas State fans, more than just a couple, that watch this show, and there's that chat room, and they always say they appreciate you so much for your time and what you did at Kansas State with Coach Snyder.
Well, let me tell you something. I will forever love Kansas State for what we went through, what they did for me, my children, and my family. Just absolutely love everything about him, of course. And Coach Snyder is the best of the best.
Yep, no question. What he did twice is remarkable. The Pittsburgh AD was fired today. Been there since, I think, 2017, was voted by NADA as the athletic director of the year. Seemed like a lot of people liked what she had done. You were there.
Yeah.
What did you think when you heard that story?
It's like one of the things in this business is you want to be wanted. I think Heather was involved with some jobs recently, Northwestern, that came down. She supposedly, one of my friends who's in the media there said that her people leaked it. They have a new woman chancellor that they sort of butted heads. One of the things that's behind the scenes, Smokey, is they built an event center. They have a beautiful basketball arena on campus called the Peterson Center. And they built an event center with offices for volleyball, women's basketball, wrestling, and it was $240 million. And there's a big note on it. And I don't think the fundraising has been up to par. They had a new chancellor come in, looked at the books, didn't like what she was seeing, and then Heather was involved in a couple of jobs, according to my friend, and he said, I'm going to help her. If she needs to get a job, we're gonna make this one available.
Good, that's good to know, and I heard about a lot of respect. But yeah, you never know. And as a coach, you know that if a new AD comes in, or even in high school, if a superintendent or the principal changes, you don't know what's going to happen with the coaching staff.
Everything changes. And in defense of her, I read, this friend of mine wrote the article, but he said at the time she came there, she really did a good job. They needed some consistency, a lot of good things. She did a lot of good things. But as we all know right now, one of the things with the NILs and what's happening, this $25 million bill that they're fixing to have to pay, if you're not raising funds, then you become, a non-negotiable person at that position.
Yeah, we've seen that at Houston. Houston's AD.
There you go.
It
Yeah,
wasn't
with Chris
fundraising,
Pesman,
and Chris Pesman got put out so they could bring in somebody they could fundraise. Coach, you mentioned Arizona State. Did you get eyes on Arizona State, Mississippi State?
I watched the whole game.
Okay.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on just what Kenny Dillingham's done? And also, I know Jeff's got, it's 2 games into his tenure. There's some work to do there, obviously, with Blake Shapen and company.
I thought that Arizona State defensively did a really good job of keeping things in front of them. I know the defensive coordinator there. He's very sound. And I thought Kenny, he knew that his quarterback was limited on his throwing, and their little running back kept him in the game. Obviously, that's one of the things I think that Art and I sort of text during the game. I think that the defensive coordinator at MSU has to learn to play with this offense. They weren't very sound versus the run. This kid, I think he rushed for almost 200 yards and really kept them in the game. I thought Chapin got better. He had the fumble that fumbled and scored that ended up being the difference. But I thought he got better, and I thought offensively they look like they have a chance. They've got to get better fitting the run on defense.
Well, your thoughts about Kenny Dillingham? He's an offensive mind. He was at Oregon. This was a team in Arizona State that a lot of people wondered how many games they would win, and that's a nice win. It's an SEC team. They're 2-0, and I know the game with Wyoming in the first week was not that big of a deal, but it's a win for a school that not supposed to win. Yeah,
absolutely. I think Kenny's done a good job. I think that the AD, they got the situation with the AD where he likes him. And like I said, Coach Ward on defense is doing a good job. And he made I don't know if many people know this, but he made an offensive coordinator change after last year. And he hired the former UNLV coach, who I think is an outstanding coach. And he's done a really good job with that offense.
Did you watch any of Utah and Baylor?
I did. I watched it. The thing that struck me in that game, even when Utah had their quarterback, I didn't see many explosive players on either side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the statistics, I think Baylor had 280, 90 yards, and I don't think Utah had that much more. And when Cam went out, they sort of went stagnant. Obviously, I didn't think that Baylor's quarterback played to the level that he needs to. They ran the ball, I think, averaged 2.45 yards a carry. That's always hard. People don't realize what that does to your quarterback when you can't run the ball.
Well,
I think Utah's pretty good on defense. Not great, but I will tell you, Utah didn't look like a team at other positions, running back or receiver, that were going to be dominant either. I thought that Baylor at times showed signs of really having a chance to getting in the game after being down early.
Yeah, that could have gotten a way out of hand, like 38-10 or something like that, because of the strip sack and eventually the blocked field goal. And then Utah, when they needed to, was able to grind the clock out at the end. And even though they didn't score, they sucked the time off the clock.
Well, and they had that. I think they had 6-7 more minutes of ball time than what Baylor had.
You mentioned the quarterback play. Finn was at Toledo, dynamic player. We've seen parts of that. Was that at times him being a little overwhelmed in that setting, or was it something else?
Well, I think that Utah was sound in what they did. I thought that, I didn't think Baylor's protection was terrible. I thought some of his throws, he looks like, and I watched him a year ago at Toledo. I'm not sure how accurate he is.
Yeah.
And when you're not having throwing and catching, timing issues, one time he had a wide open receiver and he underthrew the ball. And I think that a lot of things could have taken place. but first game, he looked a little bit rattled from the get-go.
Yeah, and that's a tough place, 50-some thousand, but that place is crazy. Now
they're right on top of you.
Yeah,
I mean, I've played there. They're right on top of you, and they're really good fans. You're exactly right.
All right, Phil, I talked to you on Friday, the SMU story with Dave Wilson about, blank, here come all the billionaires, about SMU coming back from the dead, which is exactly what they've done. You were there. You were there when it was going to be a hard time to win. You mentioned to me that some people were actually making the decisions for the athletic department, like a council or whatever. So it wasn't easy for you. But go ahead and explain what you dealt with.
When listen, I say this with all honesty. I knew, it was a job I thought I could overcome. I had some people. We were trying to change things, but they had what they call the faculty senate. They weren't bad people. They were good people, but we were in such a mode of beating ourselves up. We didn't want to forgive ourselves over this SMU thing that happened, the death penalty. And so we wanted to, let everybody know, we're not letting this kid in school. That's, if you didn't have a 3.2, 1100, something like, you weren't getting in school. And if I got 2 transfers in school, and both of them were 4.0 students, and that's the only way. It was just it was a job that I had. I loved the president, but he was also, his hands were harnessed. And then finally, after my term, we had gone through Rossley, Mike Cavan, who didn't have a chance either. And then me, and I thought we were going to get there because we went 5 and 6. We started climbing, and then we had some things. They changed a couple of things. The other issue is your academic programs. There was no college of education. It was where you put the kids. And they finally, after me, when they hired June, they opened the gates. And, June was able to get transfers, get anybody in school. He started recruiting Dallas, and it became a better job. And then, of course, what's happened now, it's full go. And I think they can be relevant. Now, they didn't play good the other night, but I think that I think Rhett's a good coach, and I think they can get their feet going there.
All right. I want to let you tell the story. You and Jacob Green and a couple of friends of yours that went down to Houston to play an unbelievable course. Blue Jack, you told me that you basically hit every fairway, which is 14 of them, I would think, par 4s and 5s, and you were playing very well, and you didn't shoot a very good score.
I was right under 100. Hey, the greens, I had a couple of putts. I had one birdie putt I told you about. Jacob Green still making fun of me. It was probably 8 feet, and I went 15 feet past it.
When did your career with Jacob overlap at A&M?
I was 2 or 3 years older than Jacob. My senior year, I was the right defensive end. He was the left defensive end. Heck of a player. Heck of a guy.
Okay, how many, because he was so good. I mean, and you had this great long NFL career as well with the Seahawks. How much easier does your job get on the right when he's on the left? Then all of a sudden you think, man, I'm feasting today.
You know what we used to laugh about? Jacob brought it up the other day. Coach Slocum was our position coach. Mm-hmm. And he told me, he goes, Phil, I used to love it. We'd be in the end zone of Kyle Field. It'd be so hot. I mean, hot. And back then, you tackled every practice. And he goes, everybody'd be after you. Ask Coach Slocum a question. Ask Coach Slocum a question. He said, we always knew you were going to be a coach because you asked the good questions and give us a 15-minute break because Coach Slocum would take so long to answer.
That's awesome. Hey, by the way, that Blue Jack Nationals Tiger, right? He's involved in that.
I'm not sure he is now, but I'm telling you, Smoke, some of the ovulations of the greens, I mean, we're sitting, all of us, we're sitting right there, right there, and I'm a chip up, and I'm telling you, I think I started off 3 double bogeys right in a row, and hitting the ball not losing balls. I mean, I'm used to Miramont. Hell, I'll lose the ball and get a double bogey, but this place down there is it's a beautiful course.
All right. Hey, thanks for the video look today. And
we'll be over. We got an hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half to you, Phil. We'll be over.
We're headed down Highway 6. We'll be down there. Beautiful, beautiful view. Beautiful backyard. Enjoy it. I know you do. And thanks for your time today, my man. And have a great week.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Phil Bennett with us on 365 Sports.